The alarm bells rang across the human colony of New Haven. Children ran for shelter while adults grabbed weapons they hoped they would never need to use. In the sky above, dark ships blocked out the stars. The HFY had come, Admiral Sarah. Chen stood on the bridge of the mining station orbiting the planet. She watched the alien fleet approach through her viewport. 27 massive warships moved in perfect formation. Each one was 3 times larger than anything humans had ever built, or so the aliens thought. "Admiral, they're sending a message," said Lieutenant Mills. "Put it through," Chen replied. The screen filled with the ugly face of a HFY commander. His skin looked like old leather and his eyes glowed red in the darkness. "Humans of this worthless colony, you will surrender now. Your weapons are toys. Your ships are garbage. We will take what we want and leave you alive if you do not resist." Chen smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "Tell him we decline his generous offer," the alien commander laughed. "Then you will all die. Begin the attack." The HFY ships opened fire. Bright beams of energy shot down toward the planet. Explosions bloomed across the surface. The aliens expected the humans to panic, to beg, to run away screaming. Instead, something else happened. Space itself seemed to tear open. From the dark, nothing between the stars, massive shapes emerged. They were ships, but not like anything the galaxy had ever seen. Each one was 10 times larger than the biggest HFY vessel. They were black as space itself, covered in weapons that hummed, with deadly power. Chen spoke into her communicator. "Terra's Wrath, this is Admiral Chen. You are cleared to engage." The lead human ship was enormous. It looked like a floating city made of metal and death. Along its sides, hundreds of gun ports opened. Inside the ship, Captain Rodriguez prepared. "His weapons. Target the enemy flagship," Rodriguez ordered. "Full power to main guns." The Terra's Wrath fired once. A beam of pure energy, brighter than a star, reached across space in an instant. It hit the HFY flagship dead center. The alien ship simply disappeared. One moment it was there, the next moment there was only empty space and glowing particles. The other HFY ships stopped firing at the planet. Their commanders stared in shock at the place where their flagship had been. On 26 bridges, alien officers tried to understand what had just happened. "Impossible," whispered one HFY captain. "Nothing can destroy a battleship that fast." But the humans were just getting started. 5 more massive ships appeared from the darkness. Each one was as large as Terra's Wrath. They moved with grace that seemed wrong for something so huge. The HFY had brought a fleet to destroy a helpless colony. Instead, they found themselves facing the largest warships anyone had ever built. "This is Admiral Chen to all HFY vessels." Her voice came over their communication systems. "You have exactly 60 seconds to leave this system. If you are still here when I finish counting, we will destroy every single one of your ships." The HFY commander who had spoken so boldly before was now sweating. His hands shook as he tried to understand what he was seeing. What are those things? Where did they come from? On the bridge of Terra's Wrath, Rodriguez checked his weapons. Everything was ready. Around him, his crew worked with calm efficiency. They had trained for this moment for years. The galaxy thought humans were weak. Today, that would change forever. "Admiral," Rodriguez said into his communicator. "All ships, report ready for combat." "How many HFY ships are left?" Chen asked. 26, ma'am. "Good. Let's send a message the galaxy won't forget." The human ships spread out in a perfect battle formation. Each one was positioned to have a clear shot at multiple enemy vessels. The HFY tried to run, but they were too slow. Their ships had been built for attacking helpless colonies, not for fighting real warships. Terra's Wrath fired again. This time, 3 HFY ships exploded at once. The beam weapons were so powerful that they went through the first target and hit the ships behind it. Metal turned to gas. Shields failed instantly. Alien crews had just enough time to scream before they died. The other human ships joined the attack. Beams of energy crossed space like deadly lightning. Missiles the size of buildings flew between the ships. Kinetic rounds, moving at impossible speeds, punched through alien armor like it was paper. In 15 minutes, it was over. 26 HFY warships had become floating debris. Only one alien vessel remained intact, and that was because Chen had ordered her ships not to destroy it. "Attention, HFY survivor!" Chen's voice filled the last alien ship. "You will return to your people. You will tell them what happened here. You will tell them that humans are no longer hiding. We have been building. We have been preparing. And now we are ready." The terrified HFY captain could barely speak. What are you?" "We are the reason your species should have stayed home," Chen replied. "Now go, before we change our minds about letting you live." The alien ship turned and ran as fast as it could. Behind it, the human dreadnoughts watched it go. They did not pursue. They had made their point. On New Haven, the colonists came out of their shelters. They looked up at the sky where the massive human ships floated like protective giants. Children pointed at the vessels in wonder. Adults wept with relief. Rodriguez spoke to his crew over the ship's communication system. "Today marks the end of one age and the beginning of another. For too long, the galaxy has seen humanity as weak. They thought we were helpless prey, easy targets for their aggression. They were wrong." The Terra's Wrath and her sister ships began to move. They had other places to be, other aliens to surprise. This was just the beginning. On distant worlds across the galaxy, alien leaders received reports of the battle. Most did not believe what they heard. Humans destroying an entire HFY fleet? Impossible. Humans had only small ships, weak weapons, and no military power. But the reports kept coming. Videos of the battle spread through galactic networks. Alien scientists studied the recordings frame by frame. What they saw made them afraid. The human ships were not just large, they were advanced beyond anything in their databases. The weapons were more powerful than anything previously built. The armor was stronger than any known material. Somehow, the weakest species in the galaxy had become the strongest. Chen stood alone on her observation deck, looking out at the stars. For 50 years, humanity had been building in secret. While aliens saw them as harmless traders and miners, humans had been preparing for war. They had hidden their shipyards in asteroid fields and dark nebulae. They had developed weapons that could destroy any enemy. The time for hiding was over. The galaxy was about to learn what humans could do when they stopped pretending to be weak. In the distance, more human ships were already moving toward their next targets. The HFY had made a terrible mistake. They had awakened something that should have been left alone. Now they would face the consequences. All of them would. The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. On 1,000 worlds, alien leaders watched the same impossible recording. Human ships, larger than anything they had ever seen, destroying an entire HFY fleet in minutes. Some called it fake. Others called it the beginning of the end. Captain Marcus Rodriguez stood on the bridge of Defiant Dawn, the second largest ship in the human fleet. Around him, holographic displays showed the locations of every HFY military base in their territory. Red dots marked their positions like a disease across the star map. "Captain, we're receiving surrender offers from 12 different HFY colonies," reported his communications officer. Rodriguez shook his head. Too late for that. They had their chance to be peaceful neighbors. Instead, they chose to attack our people. The Defiant Dawn was not alone. Behind it flew 15 more dreadnoughts, each one a floating fortress of metal and weapons. They moved through space in perfect formation, their massive hulls blocking out entire star fields. On the bridge of Terra's Wrath, Admiral Chen studied intelligence reports. Her analysts had been working around the clock to understand how the galaxy would react to humanity's revelation. The results were not surprising. "The Galactic Council has called an emergency session," her intelligence officer reported. "Every major species is demanding answers. They want to know how we built these ships without anyone noticing. Chen smiled. Let them wonder. Fear will make them more careful about starting fights they can't finish. 3-star systems away, the Yao, crystalline beings known as the Vorthak, were having their own emergency meeting. Their bodies were made of living crystal that glowed with internal light. For 10,000 years, they had been the most advanced species in the galaxy. Now they watched recordings of human weapons that could destroy their ships with single shots. How? Is this possible? Asked Elder Vorthak Prime, his crystal body pulsing with confused colors. Our intelligence said humans had no military technology. They were miners and traders, nothing more. Vorthak's science leader dimmed his glow in shame. We were wrong. The humans were hiding their true capabilities. These ships use technology we do not understand. The truth was simple, but terrifying. While the galaxy had been watching, humans had been working. Every mining operation had been a cover for military construction. Every trade mission had been gathering intelligence. Every diplomatic meeting had been a chance to study alien weaknesses. Rodriguez ordered his fleet to jump to the Kethvar system of Gromax Prime. It was their largest military shipyard, where they built the warships they used to terrorize weaker species. The human fleet appeared in the system without warning. Gromax Prime was heavily defended. Orbital defense platforms surrounded the planet like deadly moons. 300 Kethvar warships patrolled the system. It was supposed to be impossible to attack. Captain, they're launching everything they have at us, reported the tactical officer. Rodriguez watched as hundreds of alien ships rushed toward his fleet. They looked like angry insects swarming around giants. Begin the demonstration. The human ships did not try to dodge or run. They simply stopped and waited for the enemy to come to them. When the Kethvar fleet was in range, the Dreadnoughts opened fire. What happened next was not a battle. It was an execution. Human weapons reached across impossible distances. Beams of energy that could melt planets struck alien ships with perfect accuracy. Kinetic rounds moving at nearly the speed of light punched through hulls like they were made of paper. Missiles with warheads that burned hotter than stars turned entire squadrons into glowing gas. The Kethvar defense platforms tried to fight back. Their weapons were powerful enough to crack moons. Against human shields, they did nothing. The energy simply disappeared into the black hulls of the Dreadnoughts. In 30 minutes, 300 alien warships became space debris. The orbital platforms exploded one by one as human guns found their targets. On the planet below, Kethvar civilians watched their entire military disappear from the sky. Rodriguez opened a communication channel to the planet. This is Captain Rodriguez of the human Dreadnought fleet. Your military forces have been eliminated. Surrender now, and we will allow you to live. Resist and share the fate of your warships. The response came quickly. The planetary government surrendered without firing another shot. News of the battle reached every corner of the galaxy within hours. On the energy-being homeworld of the Luminary, beings of pure light flickered with fear as they realized their greatest weapons would be useless against human technology. They fight like machines, whispered one Luminary elder. No emotion, no hesitation, no mercy. They simply destroy everything in their path. The elder was not wrong. Human military doctrine was based on overwhelming force applied with surgical precision. They did not seek glory or honor in battle. They sought complete victory in the shortest possible time. On the Galactic Council Station, representatives from 50 different species argued and shouted at each other. The elegant snake-like Sarathi coiled in fear. The proud lion-faced Leonid roared their confusion. The ancient turtle-like Colonians retreated into their shells. How did we miss this? Demanded the Sarathi ambassador. Our intelligence networks cover every inhabited system. How did the humans build a fleet this large without us knowing? Ambassador Vrex of the insectoid Mantari clicked his mandibles nervously. Perhaps they are more intelligent than we assumed. Perhaps we underestimated them from the beginning. The truth was even worse than they feared. Humans had not just built ships. They had built an entire war economy. Automated factories in the outer regions of their solar system worked day and night. Mining operations stripped entire asteroids for raw materials. Shipyards hidden in dark nebulae assembled dreadnoughts by the dozen. While aliens had been focused on politics and trade, humans had been preparing for war. They had studied every species, learned every weakness, and designed weapons specifically to exploit them. The Vorthak's crystal bodies could be shattered by sonic weapons. The Luminary's energy forms could be disrupted by quantum fields. The Kethvar's thick armor could be penetrated by hyperdense projectiles. Every alien strength had been turned into a weakness by human engineering. Rodriguez received new orders from Admiral Chen. The human fleet was splitting into task forces. Each group would attack a different Kethvar stronghold simultaneously. The aliens would not have time to coordinate a defense. "Set course for the Theta Sector," Rodriguez commanded. "It's time to show the galaxy what happens when you threaten." Human civilians. The Defiant Dawn and her escorts jumped to hyperspace. Behind them, Gromax Prime burned. The smoke and debris would serve as a warning to any other species thinking about challenging humanity. In deep space, more human ships were moving. Task forces that had been hidden for decades were finally revealing themselves. The galaxy had thought it knew humanity's strength. They had been wrong by several orders of magnitude. The age of alien dominance was ending. The age of human supremacy had begun, and the galaxy was starting to understand that this was not a war they could win. Commander Elena Vasquez stood before the largest holographic display ever built. It showed the entire Kethvar Empire, thousands of star systems connected by trade routes and military supply lines. Red markers indicated planets that had already fallen to human forces. Blue markers showed targets for the next wave of attacks. There were a lot of blue markers. "Commander, the Third Fleet is ready for the assault on Kethvar Prime," reported her tactical officer. Vasquez nodded. Kethvar Prime was the alien empire's capital world, home to 12 billion Kethvar and protected by the largest military force in their territory. It should have been impossible to attack, but the humans had stopped caring about impossible things. "Begin the operation. All ships execute Plan Omega." Around Kethvar Prime, space suddenly filled with human dreadnoughts. They appeared from hyperspace in perfect formation, surrounding the planet like a steel net. The aliens had been expecting an attack, but not like this. Not with so many ships at once. The Kethvar home fleet was massive. 500 warships protected their capital, along with orbital fortresses that had taken centuries to build. Their weapons could destroy moons. Their shields could stop asteroid impacts. Against human technology, they lasted 4 minutes. Vasquez watched the battle from her flagship, Humanity's Sword. The massive vessel was newer than the ships Admiral Chen commanded, built with improvements learned from the first battles. Its weapons could fire faster, hit harder, and reach further than anything the galaxy had ever seen. "Target the palace complex," she ordered. "Make sure their government understands the situation." A beam of concentrated energy struck the capital, building of Kethvar Prime. The building didn't explode. It simply ceased to exist, turned into component atoms by weapons that manipulated matter itself. Around the impact site, other government buildings stood untouched. The message was clear. Humans could kill anyone they wanted, anywhere they wanted, anytime they wanted. On distant worlds, alien observers watched in horror as 3 separate human fleets attacked 3 different Kethvar strongholds at exactly the same time. The coordination was perfect. The timing was impossible. Yet somehow humanity was fighting a war across thousands of light years as if it was happening in the same room. The secret was quantum communication technology that allowed instant contact across any distance. While aliens used radio waves that took years to cross space, humans could coordinate their entire military in real time. Every ship knew what every other ship was doing. Every commander could adjust their strategy based on what was happening. On the other side of the galaxy, it was not just advanced technology, it was advanced thinking. Admiral Jiang Wei commanded the Northern Fleet from his flagship Eternal Vigilance. His target was the Kethvar Industrial Center of Forge World Beta, where they built the weapons they used to terrorize their neighbors. The planet was protected by energy shields that could deflect any known weapon. "Sir, their planetary shields are at maximum power," his science officer reported. "Our sensors show they're using trilithium generators to power them." Zhang smiled. "Then let's see what happens when we overload their power source." The human ships fired specialized torpedoes at the planet. These weapons did not carry explosives. Instead, they carried quantum viruses designed to infiltrate enemy computer systems. The torpedoes passed harmlessly through the energy shields and buried themselves in the planet's surface. Minutes later, every trilithium generator on Forge World Beta exploded at the same time. The planet's shields collapsed instantly. Secondary explosions destroyed the industrial facilities that had supplied weapons to half the Kethvar military. The entire planet surrendered before the human ships fired a single conventional weapon. Back on Earth, the true scope of human preparation was finally becoming clear. Deep beneath the ocean floors, massive factories had been building ships for 50 years. In the asteroid belt, automated mining systems had been gathering materials since before most aliens had heard of humanity. The Kuiper Belt contained shipyards larger than most planets. Every few weeks, a new Dreadnought rolled out of the construction bays, ready to join the fleet. What the galaxy had thought was humanity's entire military was actually just the first wave. Director Sarah Kim oversaw the industrial complex from her office in the Luna City Command Center. Through her windows, she could see the massive space elevators that carried raw materials up from Earth's surface. Each one could move more cargo in a day than most alien civilizations produced in a year. "Ma'am, we're receiving requests from 17 different alien governments," her aide reported. "They're offering trade agreements, technology exchanges, even tribute payments. They want to avoid being attacked." Kim shook her head. "Tell them we're not interested in their offerings. We have everything we need." This was the truth that terrified the galaxy. Humans did not want alien technology. They did not need alien resources. They were completely self-sufficient, with an industrial base that could build anything they required. They had attacked the Kethvar not because they needed something, but because the aliens had threatened human civilians. It was not greed driving human expansion. It was principle. On the bridge of Terra's Wrath, Admiral Chen received reports from all human fleets. The news was exactly what she had expected. Kethvar resistance was collapsing everywhere. Their military was being systematically destroyed. Their government was in chaos. "Admiral, we're intercepting Kethvar communications," her intelligence officer reported. "They're trying to contact other species asking for military assistance." Chen laughed. "And what are the other species saying?" "Nothing, ma'am. No one is responding to their requests." Of course they weren't. The smart aliens had realized that helping the Kethvar would only make humans angry with them. The galaxy was learning a hard lesson about choosing sides. "Commander, Vasquez coordinated the final assault on Kethvar Prime. Her fleet surrounded the planet completely, making escape impossible. On the surface, alien civilians looked up at the sky and saw death hanging over their heads like a sword. "This is Commander Vasquez to all Kethvar forces," she broadcast. "Your empire is finished. Your fleets are destroyed. Your allies have abandoned you. Surrender now, and we will allow your civilians to live. Continue fighting, and we will turn your planet into an asteroid field." The response came within minutes. Every Kethvar military unit on the planet powered down their weapons. The planetary government formally surrendered. The Kethvar Empire, which had terrorized the galaxy for 300 years, ceased to exist. But the humans were not finished. Intelligence reports showed that other aggressive species were watching the war carefully. The hegemony of Skarn had been planning their own attacks on human colonies. The Ravager clans thought humanity's victory over the Kethvar was just luck. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Jiang Wei received new orders from Earth Command. His fleet was to proceed immediately to Skarn space and deliver an ultimatum. Any species that threatened human interests would share the Kethvar's fate. Set course for the Skarn capital, he commanded. It's time to expand our educational program. The human war machine was just getting started. Across the galaxy, more fleets were moving toward their targets. The Ravager clans, the Skarn hegemony, and a dozen other aggressive species were about to discover what happened to civilizations that threatened humanity. The lesson would be simple and permanent. In the depths of space, new human ships were already under construction. Larger than the current dreadnoughts, equipped with weapons that made the current arsenal look like toys. The galaxy thought they had seen humanity's full power. They had not even seen the beginning. The Galactic Council chamber had never seen such chaos. Representatives from 100 different species shouted, screamed, and argued, while holographic displays showed the destruction of another alien military force. The humans had just destroyed 3 separate fleets in 3 different star systems, all at the same time. Ambassador Thyron of the ancient Vorthak crystalline empire stood at the center of the chamber. His crystal body, normally a brilliant blue, had turned a sickly gray, color that indicated deep fear. Around him, other representatives showed similar signs of panic. How is this possible? Thyron's voice echoed through the chamber like breaking glass. No species can coordinate attacks across such distances. The laws of physics make it impossible. But the evidence was right there on the displays. Admiral, Jiang Wei's northern fleet had annihilated the Skarn hegemony's home guard, while simultaneously supporting Commander Rodriguez's assault on the Ravager clan strongholds. A third human force had destroyed the Nexus cartel's pirate fleet in a completely different part of the galaxy. The coordination was perfect. The timing was impossible. Yet it had happened. Jiang Wei stood on the bridge of eternal vigilance, watching, as the last Skarn warship exploded in the distance. His fleet had taken no damage. No human ships had even been scratched by enemy weapons. It was not a battle. It was an extermination. Admiral, we're receiving communications from Skarn Prime, his communications officer reported. The planetary government is requesting terms for surrender. Zhang checked his orders from Earth Command. The instructions were clear and simple. Tell them unconditional surrender is their only option. They have 1 hour to comply before we begin orbital bombardment. The Skarn had been planning to attack human colonies for months. Intelligence reports showed they had been building invasion fleets and studying human defensive positions. They had thought humans were too weak to fight back effectively. They had been very wrong. On the other side of the galaxy, the energy beings known as the Astral Dominion were experiencing something they had never felt before. Fear. For 15,000 years, they had been the most powerful species in known space. Their bodies were made of pure energy. Physical weapons could not harm them. They had thought themselves invincible. Then human ships appeared in their home system. Lord Astral Prime, the leader of his people, tried to communicate with the human fleet. His consciousness reached out toward the lead ship, attempting to make mental contact with its commander. Instead of a mind, he found something that made him recoil in terror. The human ship's computer systems were protected by quantum encryption that his energy form could not penetrate. More than that, the ship's hull was lined with materials that disrupted energy patterns. Simply being near the human vessels caused him pain. What are these creatures? He asked his advisors. How can they build machines that wound us by existing? The answer was simple but terrifying. Humans had studied every known species in the galaxy. They had learned the weaknesses of energy beings, crystalline entities, hive minds, and every other form of life they had encountered. Then they had built weapons specifically designed to exploit those weaknesses. Admiral Chen received the surrender of Astral Prime personally. The energy being appeared on her view screen as a shifting pattern of light and color. His usual brilliant radiance was dimmed to almost nothing. "We surrender," Astral Prime said, his voice filled with defeat. "Your ships cause us agony simply by being in our presence. We cannot fight you." Chen nodded. "Smart choice. Your people will be allowed to continue existing as long as they do not interfere with human activities, attack us or our allies, and we will return with ships specifically designed to extinguish energy-based life forms." It was not an empty threat. Human scientists had already developed weapons that could disrupt the quantum fields that held energy beings together. The astral dominion could be wiped out in hours if they chose to resist. The pattern was the same everywhere human fleets appeared. Species that had ruled the galaxy for millennia found themselves helpless against human technology and tactics. The crystalline Vorthak discovered that sonic weapons could shatter their bodies like glass. The Hive Mind Collective learned that quantum viruses could destroy their mental networks. Ancient species with technology beyond imagination found themselves outmatched by humans who had been in space for less than 200 years. On Earth, President Martinez held an emergency meeting with the military leadership. Through the windows of the Situation Room, she could see the massive orbital platforms that protected humanity's home world. Each one was larger than most alien cities. "Status report," she ordered. General Harrison, the head of Earth's military forces, activated a holographic display showing the galaxy. Most of it was now colored green, indicating areas under human control or protection. "All major aggressive species have been eliminated or neutralized," he reported. "The Kethvar Empire is gone. The Skarn hegemony has surrendered. The Ravager clans have been scattered. 17 other hostile governments have formally submitted to human authority." Martinez studied the display. "Casualties? Minimal. Fewer than 50 human personnel killed or wounded across all operations. Our ships have taken almost no damage." The numbers were staggering. Humanity had conquered half the galaxy while losing. Fewer people than a single Earth city lost to traffic accidents in a year. Human technology was so superior that most battles ended before the enemy could effectively fight back. But the most terrifying thing was not human weapons or ships. It was human planning. Ambassador Vrex of the Mantari insectoid species had been studying human behavior since the war began. His analysis made him afraid to sleep. The humans had not just built a military. They had built a strategy that covered thousands of years of galactic development. "They knew this would happen," he reported to his Hive Queen. "Every action they have taken was planned decades in advance. While we thought they were primitive traders, they were studying us, learning our weaknesses, preparing for war." The evidence was overwhelming. Human trade routes had been positioned to give them strategic advantages. Their colonies had been placed to control key hyperspace routes. Their diplomatic missions had gathered intelligence on every major species in the galaxy. For 50 years, humanity had been playing a game that no one else knew existed. Now, they had won. Rodriguez commanded the Fourth Fleet as it moved through former Kethvar territory. His ships encountered no resistance. Every planet surrendered at the first sight of human dreadnoughts. Entire star systems emptied as alien populations fled to the furthest reaches of space. "Captain, we're receiving distress calls from multiple civilian transports," his communications officer reported. "They're requesting safe passage through human-controlled space." Rodriguez considered the request. His orders were clear about military targets, but civilians were a different matter. "Grant them passage, escort them to the edge of our territory, and make sure they have enough supplies to reach neutral space." This was another thing that confused alien observers. Humans showed no mercy to enemy soldiers, but they went out of their way to protect civilians. They destroyed military targets with ruthless efficiency, then provided humanitarian aid to the survivors. It was a level of moral complexity that most species could not understand. On the bridge of Terra's Wrath, Admiral Chen received reports from across the galaxy. Human fleets were establishing patrol routes through former enemy territory. Space stations were being built to control key star systems. The infrastructure of a galactic empire was taking shape. But the most important report came from Earth's deep space monitoring stations. Other galaxies were sending probe ships to investigate what was happening in the Milky Way. Word of humanity's rise was spreading beyond their home galaxy. Chen smiled as she read the intelligence reports. The probes would find exactly what humanity wanted them to find: evidence of overwhelming military power, proof that resistance was futile, a clear message that expansion beyond this galaxy was not just possible, but inevitable. The age of human dominance was not limited to one galaxy. It was just beginning. In the deepest reaches of human space, construction continued on ships that would make the current dreadnoughts look like toys. The galaxy had seen humanity's conventional forces. They had not yet seen what humans could build when they stopped holding back. The demonstration was far from over. 6 months after the first shot was fired, the war was over. The galaxy had been transformed from a collection of competing empires into something entirely new. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of her flagship, Humanity's Crown, looking out at the greatest gathering of ships in galactic history. 300 human dreadnoughts floated in perfect formation around the former Galactic Council station. Each ship was a fortress of metal and weapons, but today they came in peace. The message they carried was simple. The old order was finished. Chen activated the galaxy-wide communication system. Every inhabited planet, every space station, every ship in civilized space would hear her words. "Citizens of the galaxy," she began, her voice carrying across thousands of light years. "The age of chaos is over. For too long, aggressive species have terrorized peaceful worlds. Pirates have attacked innocent traders. Strong empires have bullied weak colonies. This ends today." On 1,000 worlds, alien populations listened in fear and hope. The humans had proven they could destroy any military force in the galaxy. Now everyone wanted to know what they planned to do with that power. "The Galactic Council is dissolved," Chen continued. "In its place, we establish the Galactic Protection Authority. Humanity will police the space lanes, protect peaceful trade, and ensure that no species ever again suffers the fate that befell our colonies." The announcement sent shockwaves through every alien government. Some saw it as conquest, others saw it as salvation. All of them knew they had no choice but to accept it. Commander Elena Vasquez oversaw the occupation of former Kethvar space from her flagship Humanity's Sword. Her ships patrolled star systems that had once been ruled by alien warlords. The difference was striking. Trade routes that had been plagued by pirates for centuries were now completely safe. Merchant ships traveled freely under the protection of human dreadnoughts. "Commander, we're receiving a request from the Zalani Trade Federation," her communications officer reported. "They want to establish new shipping routes through this sector." Vasquez smiled. The Zalani were one of the peaceful species that had suffered under Kethvar aggression. "Approved. Assign escort ships to their convoys until they feel safe traveling alone." This was the new reality. Species that cooperated with human authority found themselves safer and more prosperous than they had ever been. Those that resisted found themselves facing the same fate as the Kethvar Empire. On the crystalline homeworld of the Vorthok, Elder Prime met with the human representative assigned to his sector. Captain Williams was younger than most Vorthak crystals, but his authority was absolute. Behind him, the massive bulk of a human dreadnought hung in orbit like a metal moon. "Your people have always been peaceful," Williams said, his words translated into the light patterns the Vorthak used for communication. "That will not change under human protection. Continue your research, continue your art, continue your trade. We ask only that you register your ships with human authorities and report any suspicious activity in your space. Elder Prime's crystal body pulsed with cautious relief. And if we comply with these requests, then you will have the full protection of the human fleet. Any species that threatens the Vorthak will answer to us. It was an offer no sane government could refuse. The Vorthak had seen what human weapons could do to aggressive species. They had no desire to test human resolve. Admiral Jiang Wei commanded the Central Fleet from his flagship Eternal Vigilance. His area of responsibility included the former territories of 3 different aggressive species. All of them had been eliminated or scattered. In their place, he was building something the galaxy had never seen: true peace. "Sir, the Mantari ambassador is requesting a meeting," his aide reported. Jiang nodded. The Mantari were an interesting species. Insectoid, highly intelligent, and naturally inclined toward cooperation rather than conflict. They would make good partners in the new galactic order. Ambassador Vrex arrived on Eternal Vigilance in a ship that looked more like a flying work of art than a military vessel. The Mantari had always preferred beauty to war. Jiang met him in the ship's main conference room, surrounded by holographic displays showing peaceful trade routes and protected colonies. "Admiral," Vrex said, his mandibles clicking in what humans had learned was a gesture of respect. "My queen wishes to know humanity's long-term plans for the galaxy." Jiang gestured to the displays around them. "Peace, trade, protection for those who cannot protect themselves, an end to the cycle of war and conquest that has plagued this galaxy for millennia. And those who oppose this vision," Jiang's expression hardened, "will be removed." The conversation was interrupted by an urgent communication from Earth. President Martinez appeared on the main screen, her face serious. "Admiral, our deep space. Monitors have detected massive energy signatures from the Andromeda Galaxy. It appears they're sending a fleet to investigate what happened here." Jiang smiled. Humanity had been expecting this. Other galaxies would eventually notice that the Milky Way had been conquered by a species they had never heard of. Some would send diplomats, others would send armies. All of them would learn the same lesson the local aliens had learned. "How long until they arrive?" Jiang asked. 6 months, sir. Our analysts estimate a fleet of at least 500 ships, using technology we've never encountered. "Good. That will give us time to prepare a proper welcome." On Earth, the massive shipyards that had built the first generation of dreadnoughts were already working on something new. Ships that would make the current fleet look like toys. Weapons that could destroy entire solar systems. Defenses that could withstand anything the universe could throw at them. The galaxy had seen humanity's conventional forces. They had not yet seen what humans could build when they faced a real threat. Chen finished her address to the galaxy with words that would be remembered for thousands of years. "To the peaceful species of this galaxy, we offer our protection and partnership. Trade freely, explore safely, and know that human ships will defend you against any threat. To those who would, prey upon the innocent, know that we are watching, we are waiting, and we are ready." The transmission ended, but the message was clear. The galaxy now had a new ruler, and that ruler was humanity. On distant worlds, alien children learned new lessons in school. They learned about the terrible war that had swept across space. They learned about the humans who had ended the age of chaos. Most importantly, they learned that safety came from cooperation, not conquest. The age of galactic peace had begun, enforced by weapons that could crack planets and protected by ships that could travel between stars. But Chen knew this was only the beginning. In the deepest vaults of human space, construction continued on projects that would reshape not just one galaxy, but the entire universe. The probe ships from Andromeda would find a very different reception than they expected. They would find that humanity's expansion had already begun. In the outer reaches of the Milky Way, massive gates were under construction, portals that could transport entire fleets instantly across the void between galaxies. When the time came to expand beyond their home galaxy, humans would not need to travel slowly through space. They would simply step through doorways and appear, wherever they chose to go. The galaxy was safe. The universe was next. And somewhere in the depths of space, alien civilizations that had never heard of humanity were about to learn that their age of dominance was over. The humans were coming.